I know that you're going through some pretty messed up things in life, and maybe you just need to find someone trained to kind of like help you do this.
Maybe you need to mind your business. It will be good for you.
The father I know will not hide behind anger. The father I know will find a way to fight to keep ahead of. I just want you to remember that.
Hello? Can you guys hear me now? Oh, okay.
Hi.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So sorry about that. I will, as usual, I will send the recording to you. I'll send the recording to you so that for the benefit of those who don't hear from the onset. All right. So yesterday, let's just do a little recap of what we did yesterday. Yesterday, we said, what is trigonometry? We said trigonometry deals with, is a branch of mathematics that has to do with the study of right-angled triangles. Triangles generally, but with specific reference to right-angled triangles. Then we define the sides of a right-angled triangle depending on our angle of reference. We said that we have opposite, we have adjacent, and we have hypotenuse. We also emphasize the fact that hypotenuse is the longest side of the right-angled triangle. Then we move on to trigonometric ratios, or what they also call trigonometric functions. We looked at sine, which is an opposite over hypotenuse. We looked at a cosine, which is adjacent over hypotenuse. And we look at tangent, which is an opposite over adjacent. Then we went on to briefly look at the Pythagoras theorem. We said at times you may need, in solving problems involving trigonometry, you may need you may need to involve the use of Pythagoras theorem. So that was why we briefly looked at it. And we said Pythagoras theorem states that the square of the hypotenuse side in a right angle triangle is equal to the sum of the squares of the other two sides, which implies that the sum of the square of the hypotenuse is equal to the square of the opposite plus the square of the adjacent. Then we went on to look at what are the steps we need to take when we are solving right-angled triangle problems. We looked at one. We said that if we are not given a diagram, we should come up with a diagram on our own. If no diagram is given, you come up with a diagram on your own. Number two, you need to identify the right angle in the diagram. You know, the right angle is what actually makes trigonometry applicable. So you need to find out which of the angles is the right angle. Then you write out the sizes of the other angles if you are given, and the length of any side or any line if you are also given. In other words, you bring out everything, every information that the question tells you. And I want to emphasize this fact, that there is no information in any of the questions that you will be given that does not have relevance. So every information given must be taken into consideration. Then you also identify what you need to solve for. If it's an angle, you determine which angle are you solving for. If it is a side, which side, or if you have more than one side you're looking for, you determine which side or which sides you are looking for. Then this, I said yesterday that this particular point only refers to situation where you have, probably you were given an isosceles triangle and you need to draw a little construction. So you will determine whether you need to create a right angle triangle from an isosceles triangle. But in most of the problems that we will be looking at, this may not be necessary. But I just want you guys to put it at the back of your mind that at times it may be necessary for you to do a little extra construction of a line so that you can have a right angled triangle. Then you also decide which of the side. You also decide which of the particular.
Should we write it?
Well, you can write. If you can catch up, you can write. But as I did yesterday, I will post the video on the YouTube channel. Thank you. So you decide whether you will need the Pythagoras theorem, or you will need sine, you will need cosine, or you will need tangent.
But why do you not post it in the YouTube, this whatever?
Hello? Please, I posted it on the YouTube channel. I posted yesterday's video on the YouTube channel. Can you just listen and follow me? At the end of the session, I will take all questions. Thank you. Then you check whether your answers are reasonable. And as we have said, that we said the hypotenuse is the longest side. And you can determine if your answers are reasonable or not. I hope we are getting value, and what we are saying so far is making sense. So let us look at this example. We looked at it yesterday, but we had to quickly rush it because of our time. So I want us to look at it again. This is the question we're given. We're told that in this right angled triangle, ABC, we are asked to find the value of theta if side AB is 12 and side BC is 5 centimeters. We have been given the diagram. So if we look at our steps, if we go back to our steps, we said the first thing we need to do is to draw the diagram. But this will not be necessary for this particular question because the diagram has been given. Then we also said that we should determine which of the side is the right angle triangle. It's also indicated in the diagram. Then we write out the given information. What are the information we are given that the examiner supplied to us? We're told that side AB is 12 centimeters. And if we compare this side with the angle, relative to the angle that we're looking for, we discover that side AB is the adjacent side in the right angled triangle. Then we're also given BC to be 5 centimeters. Then if we also look at the relationship between BC and the angle we are given, that we require to find, we'll discover that BC is the opposite to the angle in question. Then we were required to find theta. Now, what we now do is we'll combine all this information we're given and the angle or the side we want to find and determine which trigonometric function will be appropriate for us to use. Now, for this question, we have the adjacent and we have the opposite. We have the adjacent and we have the opposite. So if we go back to our trigonometric functions, the list of our trigonometric functions, what is the function that connects opposite and adjacent? That is tangent. So that implies that tangent will be applicable in this question. So if we go further, tangent is equal to opposite over adjacent. Then put in the information. Our opposite is 5, our adjacent is 12. So tan theta will be equal to, sorry, excuse me, if you can't hear me, you may need to log out and log in again. If you can't hear me, Brian, you can't hear me, just log in and log out again. And I want to believe that every other person can hear me. If you're having challenges with the audio, just log out and log in again. Just go out of the meeting and then you come in again. Thank you. So our tan theta will be equal to 5 over 12. And if we calculate, divide that, we will see that 5 over 12 is equal to 0.4167, which implies that then if we find them, use our calculator or our 4-figure table, our theta.
I don't understand you got the answer.
Which of the answers, please?
The 5 divided by 12.
Now, I said that we were given 5 as our opposite, and we were given 12 as our adjacent. So tan is equal to opposite over adjacent, which implies that 5, which equals to 5 over 12. So tan theta is equal to opposite over adjacent, which is 5 over 12. And if you use your calculator to divide 5 by 12, you will get 0.4167. I want to assume that is clearer now. So if tan theta is equal to 0.4167, how do we now get our theta? What you do is you go to your calculator. Now there are 2 approaches to this, depending on the type of calculator you are using. The first approach, you will press Shift on your calculator. You press Shift on your calculator, then you press tan, then you press 0.4167. You press Shift on your calculator, press Shift, press tan, then press 0.4167. You will have 22.619 and so on. You will have a reoccurring decimal. But if we approximate to...
I'm getting it, sir.
If we approximate to one decimal place, our answer becomes 22.6 degrees. 22.6 degrees. I want to believe that that is making sense to us. And please, if you have any question, you can type it in the chat box. Type your questions in the chat box. If you have anything, just type it in the chat box. Thank you. So I want us to look at this second question. I want us to look at this second example. I want us to look at this second example. We're told that there is a right-angled triangle. And in that right-angled triangle, our right angle is at Y. We were given that side ZX is 15 centimeter and angle YXZ is 38 degrees.
I'm not getting it, sir.
Hello?
I'm not getting it, sir.
Can you see my screen? Just follow my screen. Follow my screen.
Sir.
Just follow my screen. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
So we were told that there is a right-angled triangle, XYZ, which is right-angled at Y. That implies that if we draw the triangle, our right angle will be at Y. Our right angle will be at Y. Then we are also told that in the right angle triangle, side XZ is 15 centimeter.
We are not hearing it.
XZ is 15 centimeter and angle YZX, angle YZX is 38 degrees. Find the value of side YZ. So according to our steps, we'll follow our steps. And the first thing we need to do is to draw our diagram. In this case, we were not given a diagram. In this case, we were not given a diagram. So the first thing we need to do is to draw our right-angled triangle. Which is what you can see on my screen. According to the information we are given, this is our triangle. We're told that the right angle is at Y, which is indicated. We're also told that XZ is 15 centimeter. We were told that angle YXZ, that means angle at X is 38 degrees, which has also been indicated in the diagram. I hope we understand the diagram as an interpretation of the question. If you look at the question, every information that we're given has been represented in the diagram. So the next thing is, if we move ahead, what I will list out the information we're given angle XYZ, that is the right angle. That's the first information we're given, that our XYZ is the right angle, which is 90 degrees. Then we're told that XZ is 15 centimeter. Then we're told that angle YXZ is 38 centimeter, 38 degrees, sorry, which is also indicated in the diagram. So the next thing for us to do now is, what are we asked to find? Required. We are required to find length YZ. We are required to find length YZ. So the first thing we need to determine is what is the relationship, or what's the relationship between all this information that we have been given. What is the relationship between all this information that we have been given? Now, if we look closely, the first thing we will identify, we have identified our right angle, then the angle, the side we are given, XZ. If we look at it, we discover that XZ is facing the right angle. This is XZ and is facing the right angle. So because XZ is facing the right angle, that makes XZ our hypotenuse side. That makes XZ our hypotenuse side. Now, if we look at the angle we are given in relation to the side we want to find, you will discover that YZ, which is this line, if you can see my cursor, this is YZ, is facing the angle that we know. It's facing the known angle. That implies that YZ is opposite to this angle that we know. So the two sides that we have dealings with are opposite and hypotenuse, which is what I have highlighted here. I said XZ is the hypotenuse while YZ is the opposite side to the angle we are given. Thus, the trigonometric ratio that would be appropriate is sine, because sine is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. Thus, we have the angle which we were given, angle yxz, which is 38 degrees, is equal to ratio of yz over xz. So using our our angle, the angle we're given is 38 degrees. So we'll put the 38 degrees there so that we'll have sine 38 degrees is equal to yz, which is what we want to find, divided by xz, which is 15 we have been given. We have been given in the question. So if we use our calculator or mathematical table, we need to find what sine 38 degrees is. So you go to your calculator, depending on the kind of calculator you have. Some, you just press sine, then press 38, it will give you the value. Some, you will need to press 38 before you press sine. So depending on the type of calculator you have, it's either you press the function before the value or you press the value before the function. So whichever one, it will give you the fact that sine 38 degrees is equal to 0.6157. Sine 38 degrees is equal to 0.6157. So our 0.6157 is equal to yz. 0.6157 is equal to yz over 15. So the next thing we do is we cross multiply. That is, we multiply the denominator of the right hand side with the numerator of the left hand side. So if we cross multiply, we will have our yz, which is what we want to find, will be equal to 0.6157 multiplied by 15. That means yz will go here, then 0.615 will go with 15. So our yz will be equal to 0.6157 multiplied by 15. And if we use our calculator to solve for this, our answer will be 9.235. 9.235 to 3 decimal places. 9.235 centimeter to 3 decimal places. I may need to sound a note of warning that at times the examiner may be specific about the number of decimal places that your answer should be in. If, for instance, the examiner said our answer should be to 2 decimal places, then our answer, our yz, will be equal to 9.24. If our answer is expected to be in 2 decimal places, our answer will be 9.24. If we are expected to give our answer to 1 decimal place, our answer will be 9.2. To 1 decimal place, our answer will be 9.2. I hope we got value from that. And I would like now, before we go to the next example, I will like to address if we have any question. Is there anybody who has any question? You can raise your hand so that I can unmute you, ask your question. If you have any question, or you just type it in the chat box. If you have any question, you can type it in the chat box. Okay, Chika, I have unmuted you. You can ask your question.
Sir,
Yes, please.
sir, please, I want to know how you got that 9.2.
Okay. Can you see my screen now? Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
What I did is to cross multiply. I cross multiplied 0.615. I multiplied it by 15. If you multiply 0.6157 by 15, you will get 9.235. Does that make sense to you now?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Okay, I will want us to quickly look at this, another example. You see, the truth is that trigonometric problems can come in different forms. However, the fundamentals remains the same. Trigonometric problems can come in different forms. However, the fundamentals remains the same. So let's look at this question. We're told that sine x is equal to 5 over 12. Given that sine x is equal to 5 over 12. Now, these inequality relations that we are given simply means, what it simply means is that our answer, the value of x, is between 0 and 9 degrees. That's just what it means. 0 less than or equal to x, x less than or equal to 90 degrees. So what it simply implies is that our answer, the value of x, the value of the angle x, is between 0 and 90 degrees. So we are asked to find what is cos x minus 2 sine x divided by 2 tan x. Now, the first thing we'll need to do here is to draw our diagram. We draw our diagram and put in all the information. We bring out all the information that we're given. Now, we know that from our knowledge of trigonometric ratio, sine is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. So, from the question we're given, we're told that sine is equal to 5 over 12. 5 over... Hello?
Sir,
Yes,
my mom
please.
is here. Is there English?
No, there is no English. This is strictly for mathematics. So we write out what are the information we're given. Now, if we look at my screen, now, for us to be able to find the value of cos, cosine, and tangent, we need to know what the adjacent side is. Because cosine and tangent, we need adjacent side. So we have the hypotenuse, we have the opposite. So what we need to find now is the adjacent. And the only way we can do that is to use Pythagoras theorem. So if we use Pythagoras theorem to find the adjacent side, from our discussion the last class, we said hypotenuse squared is equal to opposite squared plus adjacent squared. So our hypotenuse is 13 and our opposite is 5. So 13 squared will be equal to 5 squared plus adjacent squared. So 13 squared is 169 and 5 squared is 25. So if we rearrange the equation, adjacent squared will be equal to 169 minus 25, which is 144. So to remove this square root, what we do is to remove the square, we'll apply square to both sides. We will square both sides. So if we find the square root of both sides, our adjacent will be 12. So we now know the opposite, we know the adjacent, and we know the hypotenuse. Hence, our cos will be opposite adjacent over hypotenuse, which will be 12 over 13, and tangent is 5 over 12, which is opposite over adjacent. So what we now do is we will put in all these figures into the expressions we have. Let me go back to the question. If we go back to the question says we should find cos x minus 2 multiplied by sine x divided by 2 multiplied by tan x. So if we look at the right-hand side of the solution, this 12 over x, 12 over 13 is our cos x. The 5 over 13 is our sin x. Then the 5 over 12 is our tan x. Thus, we have 12 over 13 minus 2 into 5 over 13, everything divided by 2 multiplied by 5 over 12. So if we solve, open all the brackets, we'll have 12 over 13 minus 10 over 13 as the numerator, then everything divided by 10 over 12. So if we, the numerator, that is the one on the top, 12 over 13 minus 10 over 13, will give us 2 over 13, which is this, then divide by 10 over 12. And we know in the rules of division, we reverse the expression on our right-hand side. So this becomes 2 over 13 multiplied by 12 over 10, which will give us 24 over 130. So if we divide both sides by 2, we'll have 12 over 65. So that will be all for today, but I will want us to ask our question. Hello? I will want us to